Do you think that's gonna work?
I hope so. I mean, it's a good opportunity. It'll be the first time.
No, I'd ask you what you hope. Do you think it will? In your heart of hearts.
I think it will. If I do the credit freeze and everything, yeah.
Interesting. Maybe it's because I've just seen people's spending habits, and I know it's super hard to change that. I think it's also very difficult to people to change that from like an external pressure inherently. I think there has to be something internally that makes you really want to. So I don't know what kind of conversation you guys have had.
Yeah,
but
no.
like,
I
when I look at
we
someone's reckless spending habits, like
Mhm.
they need to have a real like reckoning, understanding like what kind of damage it's causing, and if they're just keep perpetuating it, I just don't see them changing.
I think it's hard for you to understand the day-to-day of an average person the longer you go on as a rich person. It seems like your income has gone up dramatically and you become less normal the past 6 or so years, which I imagine has a big impact on your perception. I don't think so. I think the thing that puts me the most out of touch probably with normie people, as funny as it is to think, is I think I just had a really good education in high school. Because even when I was poor, there were some normie traps that I never fell into. Like something I would say, also my hobbies have helped a lot because I'm into like video games. So I've never been one to like waste money on clothes or shoes, which I know is a big income dump for a lot of like young people or young adolescent people, but I never had to worry about that. I was also smart enough. I say smart with math. You don't need to know that much math, but like I never fell into the credit card trap. I don't know if I've ever carried a credit card balance in my entire life. I never fell into the payday loan trap. Like I would have lost my house before getting into credit cards and payday loans. I was on the verge of losing my house before getting into credit cards and payday loans. So I would say that probably like that kind of education in high school probably kept me off of like normie vibes more than
Destiny, what are your thoughts on political realism? I personally think the most useful tool is celebrate demonizing
when
all
people
opposition
just tell me,
and moral grandstanding.
Your opinion's invalid because you're rich now. It's just like, especially on the financial thing, because what you said was incredibly accurate in terms of people making really dumb decisions financially. Somehow, just because you changed the tax bracket in the last couple of years, all of a sudden, every financial advice you might have is just irrelevant. It's just not true.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there are some things you can say that are like out of touch, stupid. Like if I were to say something like, I don't know why people waste time going to McDonald's, but you can just DoorDash everything. Like that would be a retarded statement to me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sure, but saying the fact that there's a lot of poor people who make poor financial decisions, that's just not like the fact that a lot of poor people are using DoorDash or Uber Eats makes me cringe a lot on the inside.
Yeah.
Especially when they ask me for money afterwards, because I'm like, bro, I don't know. We were having this conversation amongst a few friends recently, and it's just some people who are very comfortable asking for money don't really actually need to be lent money. They just sometimes need to learn how to better manage their shit. But then the moment I say anything like that, I'll just get like a bunch of retards who be like, well, you can say that because you make a lot of money. It's like, bro, I'm 33. I've not been making more than 30,000 or 40,000 until up to like 3 years ago. So this is just immediate invalidate it. And I don't know. I think like one of the best pieces of advice, I don't even think it's great advice. I think it just worked for me. And you might disagree. I've heard a few people disagree. My mom used to tell me like, just be very careful of accruing any debt that you don't feel like you could pay off in a month. Now, for somebody who wants to do like large scale investing, it's terrible advice. But for a guy like me who was making 30 to 40K, it was actually great advice because I never accrued any credit card debt. I never took on big loans. Like, you know, maybe student loans, you can make an exception if you got a good program you're jumping into. But I think there's just a lot of valid financial advice that applies whether you're rich or poor. And I don't think, do you think it's unacceptable to say that poor people make poor financial decisions?
No, I know they do. I watch them do it all the time. Are you
talking about your family?
My family. I was just today we were going through their credit cards. That's why I started streaming late today. My family aren't even poor. My family are lifestyle creep poor, which I guess can eventually make you poor. But just poor people in general, they tend to spend their money is very transitory, and they spend on a lot of transitory things. So money comes and goes, and then they spend it all on shit that comes and goes. I'm not saying here that like a poor person needs to like fucking invest like their money all on the S&P 500 and that's how you should spend their money. But like, for instance, if you make, this is a statement I would say like broad, I'm speaking in very broad strokes, but like if you make less than 30 or 40,000 a year, you probably should not even have things like DoorDash or Uber Eats even installed on your phone. You should probably never do that ever in your entire life. Like if you make like less than like 20, 25,000 a year, you should probably never be buying from Starbucks. $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee. You can brew, if you do the, like, it's gotta be, how much do you think it costs to brew a single cup of coffee? It's gotta be like less than $1. If you're buying like a can of like the Folger shit or whatever, Yeah, I don't know. There's just like so many
I think
ways
I saw that Graham Stephan guy talk about it. Yeah, I don't drink coffee myself, but he talked about how much money he used to like get fucking boners talking about how much money he saved from brewing his own coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was saying something like it's like some down to 40 cents a cup or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that like one thing that would help, because it's hard to see it all psychologically, but the one thing that I recommend is go to your bank, open up a second savings account or another checking account if you need to, and because some people don't like to do it on spreadsheets. If you can do it, budget on a spreadsheet and just like track your expenses every month, and you'll be surprised how much you spend. But if you really want to save, every time you were going to go to Starbucks and you brew a cup of coffee instead, just move like $4.50 over from your primary checking to your secondary checking or savings, and then look at how much money is sitting there at the end of the month. Like you can save like out of nowhere. Even like a modest or a poor person can have an extra $200 to $400 every month just by like not buying like Starbucks and shit. And don't even get me on, not to knock poor people, don't even get me on starting on people that like smoke weed or tobacco who are like making not that much money. Holy shit.
It's funny because the real killers that you would imagine, like obviously delivery and stuff like that has definitely become more prominent, especially since the pandemic. But like I heard one of the big killers is actually clothing and like fast fashion. Like, a lot of people spend lots of money on clothes every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was clothing and shopping, like just unnecessary shopping. And also when they asked the people like, was this necessary for you to do? They would all report no. But I think like there's a bit of an addiction to needing to buy things as well.
For sure. And I can see like the fun of it. I've gone clothes shopping like 3 times in my life. And I think it's like fun. It's like, oh cool, I got like new shit to put on. But yeah, people that will do that like every month, or people that'll be walking like, oh my God, I see that. Like I really need to buy that. And it's like, do you really need to, motherfucker? Your last shirt hasn't even disintegrated yet. Like, why are you buying new shit already? You know, but
yeah, I think you might be the retarded end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
like you might be going too long without buying something new, and then they be going too fast.
True.
I don't know. I also think, at least when it comes to financial advice, I don't even know if my stuff really works for other people. I just know it worked well for me. I think what I get annoyed by is I have certain financial privileges now that are afforded to me because I saved money and I allowed myself to have space. Mm-hmm. And I know not everyone can do some of the similar things or even go to the extremes that I went to, which I think is okay. What I don't like is like if I'm suggesting any of these things, I'm made to feel crazy because I'm just like, oh, I have some people who are in their mid-20s and like they're paying like $3,000 a month for their spot. I'm like, just get a roommate. And like, I would never get a roommate. I'm like, okay. It was like that's your major expense.
Oh yeah, I will say.
Am I unacceptable to say you're in your mid-20s? Mm-hmm. You should probably get a roommate because you can't afford to live in this city. Mm-hmm. Is that a crazy thing to say? I don't know.
That's probably the most out of touch thing that I've ever said, and I actually didn't even think about that in my head. Because a lot of people complain about apartments and they say it's expensive. I'm like, do you need to live? Blah, blah, blah. I actually never in my entire life have considered renting a place alone. I have never done that in my life. I actually can't imagine being poor and having my own apartment without a roommate. But that's just because I've always like been dating somebody. So I've always had like a girlfriend that's been working and we've been splitting the costs. I don't know if I've ever in my life been able to afford, well, before obviously, but like when I was like running a fucking McDonald's, when I was cleaning carpets, there was no shot that I'm gonna live in an apartment like on my own. Maybe in Omaha I could have done like a studio for like $400 or $500 a month maybe, but yeah, no, fuck that. Like I've always got like a roommate that I'm splitting costs with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for some people it's like an unacceptable thing to do that, but then when you talk to people and you look at their budget, I think it's like some people's like 60 to 50% of their income all goes to rent straight away. You could cut that in half and save 20% every month by either getting a roommate or even if you get 2, you can cut down to 1/3. Now, I understand living with other people is not always great, but to me, it's just if you're not in a financial situation where you can afford to save every month, then I think do you really have any other choice?
Sure.
And every time I say it, people are like, well, not everyone can do that. Not everyone can handle it. I was like, yeah, it's not always easy finding a great living situation. Same way finding the right apartment's not always easy. But sometimes you got to shop around. You got to try with a few different roommates to figure situations out. And I think that's like the number one. I think that's probably the number one killer for most people, financially.
Yeah, rent and car as well. Like the amount of people that have like a new car and shit, and it's like, bro.
I'm actually not familiar with the whole leasing culture. I have heard that some people renew the lease and they change it up.
Not even renew the lease. My dad has a $25,000 new Kia. My mom, who has Alzheimer's and doesn't drive more than like once every 2 months, has a $60,000 BMW. And I'm like, bro, what are you guys doing? Jesus.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you tough questions. Just tell me if it's too personal.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you look at those situations like I'm not giving you a dime? What's the cutoff point where you're just like?
Well, I went down today. We made an agreement. I wrote out like a contract for like, I'm gonna help you with this stuff, but like we're freezing your credit. You're never getting a new card. We're gonna trade in this car. Like, yeah, because I told him I was like, I will kill myself, okay, before either of you die if you have more debt after we do all this shit. Okay.
And do you think? I don't know. Do you think that's gonna work?
I hope so. I mean, it's a good opportunity. It'll be the first time.
No, I'd ask you what you hope. Do you think it will? In your heart of hearts.
I think it will. If I do the credit freeze and everything, yeah.
Interesting. Maybe it's because I've just seen people's spending habits, and I know it's super hard to change that. I think it's also very difficult to people to change that from like an external pressure inherently. I think there has to be something internally that makes you really want to. So I don't know what kind of conversation you guys have had.
Yeah, no,
like, when I look at someone's reckless spending habits, like they need to have a real like reckoning, understanding like what kind of damage it's causing, and if they're just keep perpetuating it, I just don't see them changing.
Yeah, I know. And we were having this conversation. I was like, listen, one credit card should be fine. And they're like, well, but I need this one for like my Marriott points. Like, no, you don't. And then when I was calling today and like paying off and closing credit cards, I was like, wait, do we really need to close that one? It's got a $15,000 limit. And I'm like, what do you need this for? Why do you've already got one credit card. You've got one. They have like 35 or 40 different ones between the both of them. Like, what? You don't need this card. You don't, the limits don't matter. Why do you care? That's not your money. That's just money you can spend. That's not your, why do you care? And it was like actually physically pain. And that view of money, I just can't even imagine. I can't view.
I don't think it's at all logical. I think it is like I think the same thing that primes me to not spend money, not the same thing, but like the same way I'm primed to not spend money because of something psychological, I think is definitely gearing them towards that as well in terms of their spending. I don't know the psychology of spending habits and things like that. And obviously, it probably would vary to person, but there's got to be something compelling them emotionally, like whether it's the fear of missing out, whether it's the feeling of feeling inadequate, whether it's just like a status thing that they need to maintain to feel powerful. I don't know. I always wonder why it is. And if you were to surmise for some of the people in your life, what do you think drives them emotionally?
I think for a lot of people, psychologically, I think they see credit as the same thing as money. So when they see, I'll see $15,000 limit, $5,000 limit, and I'll be like, okay, this is the credit I have. They'll see it as like, this is basically the money that I have to spend.
Okay. And what about for you yourself? What drives you to not engage in that behavior? Aside from the fact that is it just you're not tempted at all, or is it a fear or something? What is it?
One is that I just don't do a lot. Like, I don't buy a lot of shit. I don't know. There's a couple things. One is that like I have absolutely zero attachment to. I don't care about material status. So, for instance, when somebody looks at me, if somebody looks at me and they go, ew, you drive a $40,000 car, that would have zero impact on me. Or somebody looks at me like, oh, why do you wear sweatpants? Or, oh, where's your Rolex? Or what? Like, that just has zero impact on me whatsoever. So that probably insulates me from a lot. I don't feel the need to like demonstrate status with stuff. And then the second thing is I'm very big on like function. So like I'll buy something if I think I can use it and get something out of it. But I don't feel a need to like collect random shit or to just buy something just to fucking have it for whatever reason. Like I'll buy it if it is gonna like make me happier, I'm gonna have fun with it. I think those two things. Oh, and then the third thing is that like you kind of mentioned this before, no debt. The only three things, in my opinion, the only three things you ever go into debt for in your entire life, 2.5 things. One is school. The second is a house. Third is maybe a car. And that's it, unless like an emergency fuck up situation happens. But otherwise, yeah, credit cards, those are for points only. Those are never for carrying balances.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with some of that advice. I know for me, I think my mom just made me so afraid of debt. And it was like almost irrational, but it kind of worked in my favor.
Same.
Just because like she would talk about credit card debt and having any left over, like it was like the devil. And she'd talk about like interest. Well, that's probably an Islamic thing a little bit also, but they talk about interest like it was so terrible. So I just remember having that in my head. And I remember ever since I worked, I liked the feeling that whatever money I had in my account, I knew I could spend it if I wanted to, but I didn't have to. And I think also similar to you, listen, my early years on YouTube especially, like everybody would just constantly clown the fact that I'm wearing the same shirt or my haircut, I would like do them myself or whatever, which I mean, I don't think these are good decisions to make, to be honest with you. But I was also not caring. So I think I definitely played a part of it. But I think a lot of it was just fear-based. And so I think when I look about why I didn't spend, I don't think it's necessarily a good or a bad thing. I think it's just one of those motivations. I feel like they operate from a different place. I knew one girl who would cry about her debt all the time.
Jesus.
She would cry about how like her student loans, she would never be able to pay them back because the debt was accruing. And I knew her since like high school. So I remember, I'm like, did you never have a job during this period? Did you never, apply for scholarships? Did you just take the student loan? You didn't. And she was living in dorms. She was spending like crazy. Yeah, and I think for young people, it's almost a little bit unfair because I don't think they're even ready to take on that kind of a sizable debt. But
yeah, because they don't actually know, like, the money doesn't mean anything to them, right? Like,
no.
Yeah. Money is a lot different when you have an hourly wage, okay? Like, seeing $30 or a $40 expense when you're 17, $40 is like, okay, $40 is $2.20s for mom and dad, I guess. And then when you're 18, $40 is like, oof, that's like a double at McDonald's. I gotta work 2 shifts to pay for this. I think, right? Because it was $5.15 or $5.25 an hour minimum wage back then. So yeah, it looks a lot different when you start working. Now the money takes on a way different character when you start to value your time, But when you're a kid, it's hard to say. Yeah.
I think it's also kind of hard to save as an old person a little bit too, just because like you're at the point in your life where you should be feeling comfortable and you're seeing all your other people around you, your peers who've like retired and they're living a good life. It's like hard to start. I don't know if this is true, but I would imagine if I was in my 70s and I felt like I still had to penny pinch, there was a part of me that would probably feel a very big sense of shame.
Interesting. Okay.
You don't think your parents go through that a lot at all?
I have. They might, maybe, but I have no shame in penny pinching. I'll do it. If there's like a thing on sale or some bullshit like that, like depending on where I'm at, I'm like, fuck it. Show me let's order for the dollar menu. For food, I'll probably splurge a little because it's fun and I've got the money to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I feel like money is too often linked. I think money should just be linked to functionality. People link it to in buying things to like status. And then also something I'll say too, because it sounds like I'm saying that like, oh, like you should live like me, like be a monk that never buys clothing or haircuts. Like personally, I don't care. I think if you want to look fresh or if you want a nice haircut or you want cool clothes, I think it's fine to buy that, even if you're poor. Just like budget intelligently for it. You don't need new clothes every month. You don't have to get a fresh lineup every fucking Friday, every party you go to. You don't have to go out and buy mixed drinks for $10, $15, $20 a drink. Just like be a little bit smarter with how you spend. Time it with sales, treat your shit well.
Yeah.
Oh, the amount of porn. This is a trigger too. I don't know why. Okay, dude, when I got stuff, my shit was the most precious shit in the world to me. Okay, nobody was driving my car. Nobody was holding my phone. Pretty sure if I found my original iPod Classic, I'm pretty sure that thing doesn't have a single scratch on the screen. Poor people that break their shit blow my mind. I'm like, bro, this is your shit. Why does every poor person I know, was the screen shattered on all of their phones? With the guys, that's like...
I don't mind if it's shattered. It's just like, why don't you have a phone case? Why don't you have a screen
or something. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, these things are so expensive. Yeah.
One person, what he told me, I swear to God, he said this and I almost died laughing. He said, I don't put on a phone screen because it changes the way the phone feels.
Okay, that's actually legitimate, so fuck you. But there you go.
I don't know. I don't know that was legitimate. I was like, I don't think you could afford to fight for that experience.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, if you're breaking your shit, then obviously, then it's like you're fucking
Yeah. If you're fucking Marquise Brownlee, then yeah, go ahead. But use your phone however you want. But my dude, if you're just working a minimum wage, you better put a phone case on that bitch because that's an investment. You have to protect it.
Sure.
Yeah. Have you ever lent money to somebody and regretted it?
Nope. Because when I lend money to people, I imagine I'll never get it back. So.
Oh, so you just accept it?
Yeah, I've had a couple of family members with questionable experiences. So.
Man. Now we're getting into like middle class rich people problems. I find lending people, especially with family, like money, super weird. I find it weird just because it's just like, where does it end? How much? Especially when like they're not getting their shit together. It just makes me mad uncomfortable that I feel like I'm subsidizing
bad behavior.
Grouping behavior. Yeah.
I know what you mean, yeah, because like I've helped my parents with a couple of house payments a couple of years ago, and then I look and see they've got, today about $85,000 in credit card debt. They've got, all this, and then I see like, oh, you guys got a new pool last year. Dad, didn't you want to retire in 2 years? That's a very interesting decision that you've made there. Like, yeah, well, if I lend money to family, I basically just like I am acknowledging that I'm probably subsidizing bad behavior and blah blah. But I think especially if you end up really lucky, really wealthy, and you have like I don't care if I subsidize a little bit of bad behavior. It's not like I was the best behaved kid. And my parents tried their best, so fuck it. If you want to buy a fucking pool because I made a house payment or two for you, then god damn it, knock yourselves out. I'm not here to rebalance. Are you
gonna legally enforce the contract against your parents if they fuck shit up?
Well, some of it will be. So like there's like part of my family members are there's one, I won't go too deep into it, but there's one family member that basically scammed a sibling that basically scammed my family out of my uncle's like life insurance will. And I said that if they wanted me to help, they've got to cut that entire portion of the family is cut out of everything that they're doing with their estate. And I'm going to make an appointment with an estate planner to get it all in writing or whatever. So that's going to be like an in writing thing, Yeah.
Ain't it crazy? The older you get, the more you discover like fucked up shit about your family, or like the past stories or different relationships between people.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. My family's always been a little bit wacky, but I know what you're saying in general. Yeah.
Yeah. You said something earlier in regards to one of the fine investments is like schooling and education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you feel about the fact that I think like with recent studies, a lot of Gen Z people are becoming disillusioned with school?
So I don't know why this is happening, but like this is what I would say, and I'm starting to read more papers come out that are starting to question the validity or the value of a college degree, and I don't necessarily disagree with them, but like here's my one thing that I don't understand: why in the fuck are so many people going to out-of-state schools or private schools? Why are you accruing $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in debt for a random 4-year bachelor's degree?
You know why?
Because they're sold on the experience of out-of-state schools to go party or some shit? I just have no sympathy. I'm sorry, I sound like a heartless monster, but like, bro, if you can't afford it, go to a state school. Your state school's probably fine. In my opinion, based on the limited shit I've seen from Europe, the United States of America has like the nicest, largest, and most insane state schools in the fucking world. Like, why do you need to go to universities in California? Why do you need to go to... Yeah, I don't know. That blows my mind. If you can't afford it, yeah.
For some people, I guess it's like the program that they want to get into. But I think for a good chunk of them, it's a new experience. They want to get away from home. They want to leave the nest. They want to do something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Going to state school or going to the spot in their place is just, it's too close to home. It's too close to family. It's too close to everything they've known. So at this point where they want to reinvent themselves or change or go into the next step in their lives, the last thing they want to do is be tethered to everything they've always known. Even for me, like when I was even thinking about doing it, like part of it is I wanted to get away from where I was. I wanted to do something different.
Sure, and I can understand that, but like theoretically you might be ruining the rest of your life, or not ruining the rest of your life, but like so wage premium means the extra wage that you earn doing something. The wage premium that you get by getting a college degree is severely diminished, and for some people even disappears if you end up doing like an out-of-state school for 5 fucking years, and now you've accrued like $100,000 in debt just getting like some engineering degree. And it's like, bro, no, like you're a software engineer, okay? You could have went to the fucking University of Arkansas. Like, can you program? If you can program, you can program. Like, why the fuck do you need to go to an out-of-state private school to do this? It's insane. But yeah, I think that people need to change their perspective on that a lot.
Yeah, but I think what you're just talking about is just like straight up finances and like financial future, which I just think a lot of young people are just not going to understand. I don't think it's reasonable to expect them to get that. Like when they're thinking of college, they're thinking
need to help them. I mean,
was the parents need to help them?
Somebody needs to help these people figure it out, because right now people are wasting money on wild shit, and it's not good. Yeah.
Do you think, aside from the financial implications, like of it being not financially worth it, do you think there's other things involved in like why people are no longer finding it worthwhile?
I mean, some of it is just propaganda. You've got dipshits on YouTube and stuff that are telling you, don't go to school, just do this random thing that will...
Well, you don't think the creator kit is a good alternative?
Wait, you mean the creativity kit?
Oh, yeah, whatever it is.
No.
What about the fact that men are driving a lot of this disinterest?
Not surprising to me.
I'll hear the conservative side say like, "Oh, it's liberal brainwashing." You know, all these lib cucks are taking over the academic positions and this and that. Now, I don't know how true that is or not. I don't really care. I'm just curious what your take is on it.
I don't know. I'd be really interested actually in reading a paper why. I know that female admissions has dramatically outpaced male admissions now. It's like insane. I think more women apply to med school today than men do even. So Yeah, I don't know. School's done a good job of appealing to women. Oh, there also was probably a little bit of fucky weird shit happened during COVID, where when people had to drop school to like continue working to support their families, that was generally men. So that's probably a trend that will create a feedback loop. If you come from a family where mom went to college and dad really didn't, then chances are your daughters are going to be more motivated to go to college than your boys will be. So yeah, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know what the reason is, like if there's like a singular reason or.
Yeah, I, somebody, I don't know if it was you actually. I think it might have been you, but somebody was like harping about how negative and how scared they are for the future. The idea that men are no longer pursuing higher education, and what kind of long-term effects it might have. And in your estimation, if you see this trend continuing, where more and more men kind of take a less of an interest in this, what do you think it can mean societally speaking?
I don't know.
I know that's kind of broad, but I'm actually just curious what it would look like if you live in a world where now, like,
I'm rotating through sexual fantasies where basically women
sexual
run the
fantasies?
planet. Yeah, and now we're all just like basically locked up in rooms for cum fucking deposits, and women run the world. You know, I'm okay with that. Fuck it. Realistically, though, I mean, it's not good. You need everybody bought into society. You need everybody bought into education. You need everybody participating. Like men dropping participation in school probably predisposes them towards a whole bunch of negative things. You know, more likely to commit crime, probably worse health outcomes, probably lower taxpayers, probably less invested in the future of their country, probably less invested in the future of children, less support. Like there's probably like a million negative. Like education is one of like the great equalizers in society. Where like go to school, get a degree, get a good job, and you're like, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much all for my questions.
Yeah.
Appreciate you taking the time, buddy. I'll let you get back to it. Also, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Last one.
Anything? What?
On the record, do you think PBD is a scammer?
A scammer? It seemed like they did that multi-level marketing shit, which I hate. So maybe, but I truly haven't seen enough to like have a strong opinion on it. I know that CoffeeZilla did that video, and I was really looking forward to being like, these guys are definitely scammers. But when I watched CoffeeZilla's video, PBD, their thing was in it for literally like, I think like 4 minutes, and it just seemed like standard multi-level marketing shit, which is probably scammy. So yeah, maybe, I don't know.
So if he is confirmed, like if you know he made most of his fortunes, I think he raked in like 144 million from the deal of selling off that company. Does that change your perspective on him, considering like all he's ever said about hard work and all that other shit?
I mean, some people work hard to scam people. I don't know. I would have to know exactly like what exactly he did or what his work. Because you could put in a lot of hard work building a multi-level marketing company. I just don't know exactly what he did, so it's hard to say.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. I will. Let me hit you up with one meme. You remember the Atlanta Police Department, Cop City, all that shit or whatever?
Oh yeah. Is that still going on?
So I donated $10,000 to the Crime Stoppers Division in the Atlanta Police Department, and FD Signifier wanted me to donate to that Stop Cop City movement, basically. Yeah. Georgia just announced 61 different individuals who are being indicted on racketeering charges that are all associated with that Stop Cop City movement. Which I thought
the Stop Cop City or the Cop City itself?
The Stop Cop City one, the one he wanted me to donate to.
Racketeering.
Wow. Yeah. I think the allegations, and to be fair, these are just indictments, so it's just allegations. But I believe
are these federally? Are they brought by the federal government?
No, state government. But in the United States, state charges are still very serious, just as serious as like murder is a state charge. But yeah,
I was just gonna say if it was federal, like they're definitely guilty. But okay, keep going.
Yeah. I think it's just an allegation that it's basically the whole Stop Cop City movement, or the people involved were basically just part of a large domestic terrorist group, that they were involved in like getting Molotov cocktails to people, blowing up police cars, like shit like that, essentially. Yeah.
I mean, listen, even though it's not, innocent though proven guilty, we did see a lot of the Molotov cocktails being thrown at the Cop City buildings during those protests. So there did seem to be a lot of organization involved in regards to some of the counter protests when they were like destroying construction equipment and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised. I think if I had to say more likely than not, I'd probably say this probably is one that's true. Probably.
Well.
Yeah. Has FD reacted to it?
I'm sure he's gonna make a whole video on how the charges are absolute bullshit. So yeah, who knows?
Okay. All right. Well, listen, man. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Have fun. Be careful. Love you, buddy. Wait! Fuck. He'll come back. I can feel him. He's not coming back. Fuck.
Yeah, what's going on?
How'd your tour go?
I can't hear you if you're talking.
How did your tour go?
Oh, I did 3 cities. I did Detroit, Pittsburgh, Washington. Pretty much sold out all the shows. That was good. So now we're doing now that we got the testers out and we got the evidence, then we can just start booking the rest of the dates in winter.
Oh, cool.
It was good. I actually met some DGG fans, I think, in Pittsburgh and Detroit, too.
Well, cute. Okay.
Yeah, they came out pretty cool. Yo, I will say,
Yeah.
I thought I'd visited quite a few parts of America. Detroit was something else.
That
has got to be the ugliest city I have ever seen. It was actually I'd never seen so many abandoned houses in a good part of town. Like, I mean, when I say abandoned, like windows were broken in, everything was boarded up. It was fully abandoned. Like, it looked like a haunted neighborhood, and that was a good part of town. It was fucked up.
I think, I could be wrong, I don't know if it's still available, but I think there were parts of Detroit where you could buy a house for like $20. Like,
yeah. That used to be a thing about like 10 years ago. You could get a house for $1. It was crazy. The thing is, they would get you on the property tax, however, but they just needed to make money, so they were selling it for anything they could get because nobody else was going to buy them. But when you drive around, it's super eerie, and I didn't know if a lot of the Midwest was like that. But Detroit was particularly fucked. I know Detroit's not technically Midwest; it feels more East Coast, but I feel like it's close enough. Have you been to Detroit?
I have been, actually, yeah.
Have you driven around outside of the downtown core?
Nope, I was just in the downtown area, which was like nice.
Okay.
Oh
Midwest, man.
But no, I didn't venture
shit!
too
Yeah, that place is ugly. So yeah, I thought the people and the food was really good. Surprisingly,
I feel like I have driven around some places that are pretty ugly on the outside. Not to knock anybody. Have you ever been to or heard of St. Louis?
I have heard it's ugly. I've never been there.
I think poor Midwest places kind of hit a little different. They're just kind of like, I don't know. But
it is crazy because you go to rural Europe and it just feels so beautiful and pristine. And then like I go to some parts of rural America and I'm just like, how is this a real place? Like it's just dead land and just unkept grass everywhere, ugly places. It's just, I don't know. Like there's some parts of America I think are really beautiful, but I was really surprised by how rundown it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pittsburgh was nice. And then Washington. But we'll be up in Miami, so we come through. You're gonna come through the show?
Yeah, obviously. Wait, do you know the date yet or no?
No. I'll let you know in advance. I think we're probably gonna book everything this month. So.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yep.
What about you? When you doing your tour?
Sometime soon. Oh wait, have you heard of VidCon?
I have.
I'm going to VidCon, I think, at the end of this month. Are you going to VidCon?
Where's that at?
I don't know. I think it's in like Seattle or San Francisco or something. Does that sound right?
San Francisco is also disgusting.
Yeah, that's a special place.
It's in Seattle. I might check it out.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about doing a live tour?
Yeah, Dan was planning one, and then he abandoned us. But, no, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe someday. I'm a streamer.
You should seriously consider it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this like, have you talked about the financial aspect of it, and then also the audience aspect?
No, I know it could be fun. I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then I'll let you go on that one. Peace.
Love you. Bye.